Few people may remember, but early in the consideration of a proposed war in Iraq, Colin Powell told the Bush administration that it simply would not be militarily feasible. His reason was not that we could not overthrow the government. He said that was quite possible. The thing Colin Powell said would be impractical is the military occupation of the country after the invasion was successful. Probably one of the most well-known phrases in his warnings was the comment that, "If we break it, we buy it." Clearly, his warnings were prophetic. Colin Powell told President Bush how many troops would be required for a successful occupation of Iraq, and he was later scoffed and even made fun of for being too outrageous and making a gross overestimation. Oh, he was just a four-star general when he happened to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but what does he really know about the military? Fools. We're not really going to actually need that many troops. We're not going to actually need that much money. He's just blowing things way out of proportion. But those people aren't making fun of him now, are they? Now that the Iraq War has actually racked up a couple of years, we can judge and see just how off he really was. Well, as expected, the invasion was fantastically successful. However, ever since the start of the occupation, all we have heard from Iraq was, "We need more money. We need more armor. We need more troops." Does this sound familiar? It should be of no surprise that our operations in Iraq had only truly become successful once there was a surge of troops. Military overextension was no longer a silly, abstract figment of the imagination of the Secretary of State. It was, and it is, a reality. I just heard recently on the radio about a reserve or a National Guard unit that is stationed in Minnesota. By the time this unit returned to the U.S., they had been gone for a period of 22 months. The purpose of reserve and National Guard troops is to act as an auxiliary in times of war. Now let's put this in perspective. Ideally, Guard units and reserve units are not to spend more than 9 months overseas. And this unit spent 22 months. It was recorded that by the time they had returned from this 22-month service, that 1/3 of married soldiers from this unit either returned to be divorced or separated from their spouses. This is but one example of how there are many effects of the overextension of our military. Ultimately, this is not an argument for or against the Iraq War, because honestly, that argument doesn't even matter anymore because we're here. The irony here perhaps is this: now we are so overextended over our occupation in Iraq that even if we wanted to, it wouldn't be militarily feasible to do anything about the real problem which is brewing in Iran. Many of you may not think that Iran is all that much different from Iraq. Well, you're wrong. Iran's military is many times larger than Iraq's military ever was. Any saber rattling on the part of the US is absolute foolishness, because the truth is, due to our vast overextension of our military right now, it would be a strategic suicide to try to start war with Iran. If we were to enter a war with Iran, I can't make any kind of predictions as far as how many troops we would need for the invasion and how many we would need for an occupation and all that. I can't give you those figures. Why? Because I'm not a four-star general. However, what I can tell you is that when we overextend our military, time and time again, it hurts our troops and it hurts the people, the society that we are trying to cultivate and protect. Just as a government needs to be able to exercise fiscal responsibility, so do we need to be able to exercise military responsibility. This is not a matter of being for the war or against the war. This is a matter of being for the troops. We have to understand the real limitations of our military. If you keep piling straw onto the camel's back, at some point the camel's back breaks. And you don't need any stars on your shoulder to realize that. I urge you to look at the world through different colored eyes, because I do.